from the minute you all called me and said to talk about why men don't go to church, and I really think the question is wrong. I really think the question should be why the church don't go to men. Hello. You know, I really think it's and I'm not trying to insult or to insult your Episcopalian sensibilities here, but I really think the question ought to be why doesn't the church go to men? And if that script is flipped and changed, that's a whole new ball game now, because it changes our strategies and what we're supposed to do. Stop kidding yourself. Stop kidding yourself. The fastest growing religion in this world today is a Muslim religion. Stop kidding yourself. The other day when I took my vestry on a retreat, every year we go to a retreat, and we do this strategic plan. I've done one for 5 years, and I said to them, let's do what in social work we call asset mapping, which is what are my assets, and more importantly, what's around me. Churches don't do that, so you ought to do that. What's around me? Who are my neighbors? And they sat there and go, oh, there's a bodega in the corner, or there's a daycare up there, and guess what? Half a block away, there's a mosque. And for the entire night, no one even mentioned the mosque. And every Friday afternoon, there's a drove of brothers going there. Why? Because the imams in this country, the Muslim imams, have discovered that most of the brothers, unfortunately, many of our brothers, are incarcerated. Well, too many of our brothers are incarcerated. So what do? They begin ministry where? In there. So by the time the brother leaves prison, he is so committed, so he comes out to an institution that is welcoming him. He comes out to a situation where he can walk into a mosque. So the imams are not waiting for the brothers, they're going to them. And that may be an issue for the Episcopal Church to begin to ask ourselves, why aren't we going to the men? You can sit and wait for them to come, and some of them will, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but some of them won't. Because we need to change the strategy here. Because you see, what going to men makes us evangelists. And that's what scares the Episcopal Church. Nothing scares the Episcopal Church. Oh, a decade of evangelism. Nonsense. Decade of, what did we get out of that anyway? A couple of people. Decade. What is evangelism for us? You know, I've said this perhaps in this church. You can say what you want about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, let's talk about them. Let's talk about them. But they know for a fact that evangelism means not sitting in the warmth and comfort and the fuzziness of a liturgical setting with our cushion and our chandelier and our thurible and our incense or whatever. They know that evangelism is getting up from here, sir, and going over there, sir. That's what I'm saying? So you can stay over here, sir, all you want, but until you decide to go over there, sir, you're never going to get people who are over there, because you're going to be always over here. And it seems to me, if we're going to start talking about getting men to church, we have to talk about our willingness to go to the men. Now, of course, that puts in the question of where are the men? And where do you have to go? Let me tell you something. One of the fastest growing industry in this country, do you know what, apart from prisons, do you know what it is? The fastest growing industry in this country, do you know what it is? Well, let me let you know the secret. Ladies, if you stick your hand out for a second, just stick your hand out for a second and look on your hand. What do you see? Nail polish. There you go. Well, maybe you should see some. Nail polish, and in some cases artificial nails, and so on. The cosmetology industry is in fact one of the fastest industry, sorry about pharmaceutical, but growing in this country. Only because you and I know that when you go to those Koreans and they slap that bad boy on your finger, you have to go back every 2 weeks in order to maintain it. Stop kidding yourself. And let's not talk about the hair. Hello. Don't mess, excuse me, you're the exception. Don't mess with a sister and her hair. Hello. She will sit in a hairdressing salon 3, 4 hours. I was in the barber shop yesterday. I got this especially for you. Hello. I sat in my barber shop. When I go in there, I'm sitting there waiting in Soldier's place. That's what he's called, Soldier. 2 hours sometimes, just sit there. And guess what happens in the time when I'm sitting there? Nothing. We're gossiping, chatting rubbish, sometimes watching television. Absolutely nothing. Hairdressing salons and barber shops. Hairdressers and barbers know more about what's going on in the community than anybody else in this world. That is research proved. Trust me. Yes. You may not want it, but I'm telling you. Barbers know every gossip, who's sleeping with who's not sleeping, who should be sleeping with who. They do, because what? When you all go there, that's all we do. We gossip. We in Hartford discovered that if you believe that, not only do barbers and hairdressers know so much about what's going on in the community, but people, that's a prime real estate. Hello? It is prime real estate. And so what we did in Hartford, we started inviting barbers and hairdressers to come to breakfast. And while they were there, we talked to them about the church, talked to them about the Brotherhood of St. Andrew, talked to them about ECW, we talked to them about the youth ministry in the church, we talked about everything. So by the time they left, they knew about the ministry of the church. So while Soji is cutting my hair, he can say, oh, by the way, Father Donaldson, you get where I'm going with this? Where I'm going with this is, the question was to you, where are the men and where are the women? And I'm saying to you that cutting edge ministry that we must begin sends us from here to there. And that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses have known, that we know that they know that. Because they are going to where they think the people are. And the Episcopal Church must begin to ask ourselves, where are the men? And if we have identified where they are, we cannot just sit here and say, well, are they going to come to us? Because they're not. We have to be willing to go to them. And that's where the rubber meets the road, because that's ministry. And I think that's the scary part for many of us, because it involves changing how we do business completely. And the Episcopal Church has not been a church of going. It's been a church of inviting. Which leads me to my other question. If we're going to talk about getting men to church, either going or getting them to come here, we have to begin to make the distinction between inviting and recruiting. Now, not many people make that distinction, but I want to make it right here on this holy ground here. There's a huge difference between inviting and recruiting. I invite you to my birthday party. You can come or you don't want to come. I invite you to come to go on a cruise with me, yes? The United States Army recruits you. That's a completely different thing. Because those involve different types of outreach. When they recruit you, they don't want to let you. They intend for you to come. The Jehovah's Witnesses don't invite. They recruit. So they come into the warmth of your home, and when they leave, they expect that there's going to be some level of commitment on your part, either to visit them or for them to come back. The Episcopal Church has to get into the notion that if we're going to begin to talk about getting men, we've got to stop inviting them. You know, like the invite. Oh, why don't you come to my church on Sunday? Hello. We've got to understand what it means to recruit. And recruit means putting on a different lens and having a different attitude towards ministry. Because, you know, everyone else is recruiting, we're still inviting. And inviting is not going to, in today's world, inviting is not going to do it. I said to St. Mark's a few weeks ago, somebody needs to explain to me. When we talk about getting young people, and this is applicable too for young men, when we talk about, oh, where are young people? Our young people are not coming to church anymore. Hello. When you look at, I was a principal of St. Mark's Day School, by the way. When you look at a child's room today, they have PlayStation, Xbox, Wii, plasma TV, a cell phone, an iPhone, this phone, an MP3 player, all in their room. State of the art. They can click on demand right in their room. So do you think that they're going to leave their MP3 player with Jay-Z and Nas beating in their head to come listen to Carlos play a piano? No. If we're creating a place for them that is so comfortable, why do you think they're going to want to leave the comfort of what we've created for them for them to come to listen to a Baldwin or an Austin that we're playing in church. A completely different scenario. So we have got to understand that if we're going to invite the young men, and we are competing with what is on the outside. So that the inviting days are over. We have to now recruit. So we must now change the strategies that we are using. One. In my other question to the brave federal government people and state government people who invited me to talk about getting parents to come to them or making them feel more welcome. My question is, do you have a budget to do it? Do you have some money in your budget that talks about the ministry to men? And more than often the answer is no. We expect that word of mouth alone is going to bring. We have got to be willing, when we sit annually at the end of the year to talk about our budget for the year, we need to put a line item in there that says, here is $2,000 or $3,000 for ministry to men, which means we're going to create, in situations like these, we're going to fund them, we're going to hire, we're going to be able to recruit, we're going to send whatever. So it means now we're actually putting our money where your mouth is. And that changes, again, the whole topography of your budget. It changes how you operate. See, we can talk a whole lot about getting people to come to us. But until we actualize that in how we do business, put more money in there, change how we talk, all of that, all we're going to be doing is talking.